Hello everyone and welcome to MrMoFranchise. It's great to be back. It's episode 1 of Madden 22 on the PS5. And I'm happy to introduce that we will be rebuilding the Pittsburgh Steelers, my favorite team. As you will see, I will be using dice rolling throughout this franchise. It may seem odd to need dice to play a video game. However, I use the dice to roll outcomes for events that will be occurring randomly throughout the franchise. Since I cannot go into the code of the game itself, as I'm not a programmer, the dice are used to add randomness to events. I believe this randomness adds a layer of uncertainty which makes Madden more enjoyable, less stale, and less predictable. And I will give EA Sports credit. I like the new scenarios they've been introducing over the last couple of years, and honestly, I would love to not have to do things like this. And as they do add those things, it does make the game better, but I still think there's pieces that could be made even more interesting in a game to keep it less predictable over time. If you want to replicate my franchise experience and you don't have polyhedral dice, you could always download a free dice rolling app on your smartphone. The first step is to decide the difficulty. Now I am going to be getting this series on the All-Pro difficulty. Many people might believe that playing on All-Pro is too easy, and if you took a normal team, that would be the case most likely rather quickly. However, as you will see, I will be tearing down much of the team before I begin this franchise. However, if you're still skeptical about playing on All-Pro, of course you could play on All Madden. My rule will be that I will bump up the difficulty to All Madden after winning 2 Super Bowls in a 3-year span. The second step is to decide which team to take over. Last year, I took the Jacksonville Jaguars. For Madden 22, I'm going to select the team that I've been a fan of my entire life, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The third step is to find out which general manager type is running the Steelers. For this step, a D3 or 3-sided die is used. Notice that each GM has characteristics that can define the experience with the team. While the former player favors the draft and youth, the financial mogul is more likely to spend money on the staff and free agents. The former player is tight with money, but will give me more time to turn the program around, while the financial mogul is short on patience if I cannot produce wins quickly in the series. And in the middle is the lifelong fan, who usually takes the more moderate approach on the issues. For my role, I rolled a 2. Therefore, I will be working with a GM who is a lifelong fan of the Steelers, just as I am in real life. The fourth step is to determine the general manager's roster restructure plan. In the Madden franchise series in the past, it did allow you to select what they called a cupcake squad, which gave you players that were way less talented than the rest of the league, and thus your team's overall rating was low to begin with. Now, since the current Madden franchise took this out, which is not a surprise to a lot of us Madden fans who've watched them take out or strip out a lot of features that we liked in the past, I have taken this approach, and here is that approach. The storyline for my Madden franchise is that we are living in an alternative 2021-22 series in which Kevin Colbert, the GM of the Steelers, decided to completely tear down the team and begin a multi-year rebuilding process. He has come to the conclusion that the Big Ben era is over and that a total youth movement will be the direction of the team. Therefore, I will be either trading or releasing every single Pittsburgh Steelers player who has at least 3 years of NFL experience. For each player that is going to be done away with on this team, they will either be traded or released. And in order to accomplish how that's going to work, I'm going to roll a D30 or 30-sided dice. And when I roll an 8 through a 30, that player is just going to be given their outright release, and I don't get anything in return. However, if I roll a 1 through a 7, I will be able to randomly trade that player to a random team for a draft pick that corresponds to the number that I rolled. So for example, if I rolled a 1, I could trade that player for a number 1 pick in the first round from a random team. However, if I offer that player for that pick and the other team thinks that the trade doesn't help them, for example, if I cut a 64 overall player and I ask for a number 1 pick and they say no, then I just have to release the player. So we'll see how many picks I can get through that process. Now, those picks will be accumulated to help the Steelers get out of their recent salary cap issues and of course build a team for the future. For the positions that lose the players, the team's roster will be filled up with players from free agency. And once again, sticking with the youth movement plan, the general manager will fill those spots with players who have 2 years of experience or less. Step 5. In this reality, Coach Mike Tomlin asked to be released from his contract so he could continue his coaching journey elsewhere, he was like, no, I'm not sticking around for this crazy rebuild, and I want to get my coaching talents to another team that's not in this crazy rebuilding process. Well, yours truly was crazy enough to take over this opportunity, and yet I was interviewed with many other quality candidates before they finally gave it to me. Now, in the interview process, they asked me several questions as to my coaching philosophy. Their questions were centered around 5 key areas: offense versus defense, play calling, handling the media, risk assessment, and player relations. And here are the answers that I gave. I said that I'm offensive minded, I will call a majority of the plays, I have a pragmatic approach to the media, I'm very aggressive when it comes to risk assessment, and I will take an empathetic approach when it comes to player relations. Now, these answers that I gave were clearly the answers they wanted to hear because I got the job. Now, these answers will have an impact on the franchise going forward, as some random events will occur that will be affected by the answers that I gave in my interview. My plans for the series. With my previous series, I made content when I could. Since I do have a full-time job, it is not always easy or possible for me to deliver content in a consistent manner. However, with this series, I'm going to try to do my best to keep a schedule when I release videos. My goal is to release 2 videos a week. I'm going to try to release a video every Monday and Thursday at 4:00 p.m. Next episode, we will take a look at the players that will make up this team in year 1. We're going to look at the picks that I was able to acquire with the trades I was able to make, and we will look at the coaching staff that will join me in Pittsburgh as I try to rebuild this once proud franchise into a contender again. If you like what you see here, please do me a favor, subscribe to my channel and click that like button. Also, feel free to spread the word to other franchise fans who are looking to make their franchise experience more unique and possible. And thank you once again so much for watching. Have a great day.